Smoke fills the air, the wrestlers roar. It's smoke beyond the mat, where legends go to war. From the ring to the mic, let the stories unfold, of triumphs and tears, tales yet untold. Smoke beyond the mat, where legends are born, where the passion burns bright and the spirit is torn. From the heart of the ring to the soul of the show, smoke beyond the mat, where the wrestlers go. Take the stage with wit and charm. They guide us through the chaos, keeping us warm. From old school icons to rising stars, they share their journeys, leaving lasting scars. Smoke beyond the mat, where legends are born, where the passion burns bright and the spirit is torn. From the heart of the the soul of the show, smoke beyond the mat, where the wrestlers go.
And we're here, Smoke Beyond the Mat, which it's only taken us near enough a fucking year to get back together and start doing one. So we do apologise for being so behind in our times, but we've been busy with the Cigar Lounge podcast. We've been busy, of course, with Grumpy's Coffee Talk show that you can catch on Mondays. You can catch it on Wednesdays, and you can also catch it on Fridays. Premiering on rumble.com. And of course, that's rumble.com.
Yeah, buddy.
And tonight we're going to be talking about none other than Mr. Fuji. And of course, great manager, and I remember some really vivid memories of Mr. Fuji against The Undertaker, of course, with Yokozuna. Then, of course, when he was a manager of tag teams and some of the tag teams that he had, also Don Morocco, when he was managing Don Morocco and so forth. But as we know, Mr. Fuji, and of course, his proper name is Harry Mayasho Fujiwa, and he was born on May 4th, 1934 in Honolulu, Hawaii, and he was of Japanese and native Hawaiian ancestry, but sadly, of course, as we all know, he passed away at 82 on August 28th, 2016 in Clarksville, Tennessee, USA. And of course, your neck of the woods, Tennessee, Grump.
Yep. Yeah, man. Wow. A lot about him. And like I said, he was iconic in that area. Come on now. You ain't bothered me all day long. Tell you what. Yeah, Paw Patrol. They've been good all day long. Now that I'm sitting in here, we're gonna do this. He won't come in here and sit on my feet now. But yeah, Fuji, man. See, being born and raised in East Tennessee, he was he was one of those guys well known in the area.
Yep.
And he ended up there in Morristown, Tennessee. If I'm not bad mistaken, that's where he ended up retiring out. You know.
Yeah, he ended up retiring on that, didn't he?
Yeah, living quite a few years up there. Yeah. And from what I understand from the locals, that he kind of actually in the end, he was working a local job like any other blue collar fellow, man.
And, that's what I heard about him.
And he was as humble a man as you'd ever want to meet.
Oh yeah.
What you saw in the business, man, that was totally opposite day and night of what the man was in real life.
Yep.
He's just a big old nice everyday guy, man. But You put
Yeah.
him in that wrestling ring, and yeah,
Well, he started in wrestling in
yeah,
1962, of course, and he started in his native Hawaii under the ring name Mr. Fuji, and he won his first championship, which was the NWA Hawaiian Tag Team Championship with King Curtis on January 7th, 1966.
right.
He shortened his ring name to Mr. Fuji and toured many territories, of course, including Don Owens, Portland, Oregon based NWA Pacific Northwest Wrestling, where he won many championships. So that's where he started, and is I knew later on down the line with going back over old wrestling matches was then where he started, of course, in WWF, which then became WWF, which is now, of course, WWE. And he started there. And as
Right.
we know, of course, when he went over to, of course, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, which was WWF, he was there from 1972 to 74. And Fuji debuted in Vince McMahon Senior, so not Vince McMahon as we know, of course, with all the stuff that's going on at the moment. This is Vince McMahon Senior, and he joined there in 1972 as a heel. And he formed a tag team with Professor Toro Tanaka, and the duo were managed by the Grand Wizard. And I'm going to lead over there, Grunt, to
Yeah.
your story with Tanaka and Fuji, and we'll go into that one before we carry on with talk about Mr. Fuji, of course.
Oh, well, yeah, that was another, I guess you would say, life highlight, memory to look back on. And once again, born and raised in Knoxville, and in the early 70s, around 72, 73, in that area.
Yeah.
I went to West High School, and close to the school, we had a health club, and that's where a lot of the guys in athletics, you know, would go over, and we had arrangements worked out with those people, membership wise and stuff like that. And we go over and work out in the weight room and stuff like that. And when these guys were in town and coming through Knoxville, well, that was where they came to work out too. So it wasn't unusual to go over after school,
Yeah.
to get a workout in, and run into Fuji, run into Tanaka, you might run into Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah.
That was another one that was in the Knoxville area for a lot of years. You know, he used
You
to
had a lot,
have
you had a
things
lot down
over
there,
the
didn't you? You did.
huh?
You had a lot down there. I know when we've spoken
Yeah,
before
Whitey
about the amount of
Caldwell.
different,
You
yeah,
know,
about the amount of different wrestlers down there in Knoxville,
yeah,
around that
yeah. There
area
was
that were
a
training.
lot,
Hmm.
and it was. I mean, for a high school kid, for a high school kid in there, in the gym pumping iron and doing your
Yep.
cardio and stuff like that, with these guys,
Oh yeah.
and seeing them as as fellow athletes. Not they weren't. There was no acting.
I
There was
know.
no scripts. There was no anything put on. They were just guys like everybody else. Uh,
Regular guys though, weren't they? They were grumpy. If you
yeah,
think about it,
yeah. I mean,
they were your regular wrestlers where you're
and
not getting down into that point of course, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and them steroid toned looks.
well,
These were proper men that were training, pumping weight, and not doing that kind of line of stuff. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
There may be some marijuana taking. Yeah, there may be some of that going on, which was a big thing around that time in the 70s,
it was the
60s, 70s,
'70s, man.
80s. And that's
But
the thing. We knew that was going on with a lot of them. But when you look at Tanaka, you look at Fuji, that was proper man, proper look of a wrestler, not this flamboyant technical colour, steroids, muscles raging here,
Yeah,
there, and everywhere in the veins. It wasn't with
and
Fuji Tanaka.
and another thing that was different in the '70s. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine what one of these health clubs would look like? You know, with these guys, if
Oh,
if
yeah.
some of today's if some of today's names came in there to work out, they'd be like swinging on the rope, man.
Geez,
They'd be
you'd have
trying to,
everyone there with the phones trying to
yeah,
take a
they'd be.
picture.
See,
Hardly
see, back
pandemonium.
back back then, we were all just like people helping each other out with workouts and different stuff like that. Wasn't nobody, wasn't nobody like all goo goo gaga
Yep,
because of who they
starstruck.
were there working. Yeah, no, the starstruck, man, because they were in there. They were in there just like we were, man, and they treated us. They treated us. They didn't treat us like we were any different.
Do you think we've been in the Knoxville, Tennessee area, Grump? And I know I've read a couple of stories, and they said a lot of wrestlers would situate around a place that was easy to travel. So you'd have a lot in Texas, you'd
Right,
have a lot, of course, in Tennessee, you'd have a lot down there in the Florida regions of Tampa and Orlando because it was easier
right.
then to travel from there to get to venue. Do you reckon that's why there were so many wrestlers around your time that were stuck in Tennessee because it was easier to get and do these different, like, hick towns, as the class does, where you travel all day in the car, you get 12 hours to this site and wrestle, then you travel another 12 hours to another one. But
Hmm.
because of them all being so close together, does Tennessee might have been that area to then get to them?
Well, that's like being there in Knoxville. Okay, you've got that. They always had wrestling matches in Morristown,
Yep,
Johnson City, Kingsport area. You know, they would go up into the lower part of Virginia, some of those smaller towns in there. Uh, Southeastern Kentucky,
yep,
Lexington down. Down 75
yep,
between Lexington and State Line. They'd hit towns down through there. Then when you wanted to go west, Nashville
yep,
was only a couple hours west, and then 8-hour drive, and you're in Memphis.
yeah.
You're out there in a whole different league. Just an
Oh, yeah,
8-hour drive, but you're based in Knoxville. So, but you could still go and work the Memphis area with no problem.
yeah,
And then, of course, the short drive to Atlanta,
yep.
Chattanooga, all those
Oh, yeah.
places, and
You
like you said, half
touched
a
on
dozen high
perspective,
school gyms between there.
yeah. Pushed on to perspective of why they were there, and it was so easy to get around. But of course, as we know, you got with Tanaka and everything, and they were managed by
Yeah,
the Grand Wizard. Tanaka provided the physical massive strength, and Fuji brought his devious ring psychology to the
yeah,
team, which earned him the nickname the Devious One. Fuji used to throw salt in his opponent's eyes, which
yeah,
earned him victories. They defeated Sonny King and Chief J. Strongbow on June 27th, 1972, and that was their first World Tag Team Championship. They quickly ascended to main event status, defending the titles against WWF World Heavyweight Champion Pedro Morales and Bruno Sammartino on 7 occasions throughout the year. During the feud, Fuji earned a shot at the WWF title against Morales on August 22nd, but lost by countout. They reunited 11 months, making the third longest WWF Tag Team Championship in history. And then, of course, they lost the championship again, which was, of course, Tanaka and Fuji, and they lost it to Tony Garvier and Haystacks Calhoun on May 30th, 1972. They continued the feud with Garrier and Calhoun for the titles before defending them again on September 11th in a rematch to win the second WWF World Tag Team Championship. With the title recaptured, the feud with Garnier and new partner Dean Ho continued. And on November 14th, Fuji and Tanaka lost the titles to Garnier and Ho after failing to recapture the titles from Garnier and Ho. Fuji and Tanaka left the WWF in 1974. Now, as we know with Tanaka went on to star then in The Running Man with, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know something, Grump? They were a great tag team. I've got to admit, I've seen some of the footage, and it's like after they left there, Fuji, of course, then went to Mid-Atlantic Championships from 74 to 75. And he reunited with Tanaka, and they debuted in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Like you just mentioned, easy to get around these different places.
Mm-hmm.
So in August 75, on September 19th, 1975, of course, they participated in a 4-team tag tournament where they defeated Tony Garvia and Danny Ho in their finals to win the vacant NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship, and then they lost the titles to Bob Backlund, Jerry Briscoe a month later. Shortly after their title lost, they left GCW and toured other territories where they won several titles. So, as we've spoken before, they get this like big kick in WWF or WWF, and then they start going down the mid card, then they're an opener, then they move territory. And this is where we're seeing with Fuji and Tanaka, they're now on this territory run. Do you reckon it didn't matter because there were still these big stars? As touring these territories didn't really matter to them because they were winning titles, they were still getting paid. What do you reckon, Grump, on that one?
Well, I think that back in the day when I was really keeping up with things, it was kind of a combination of a notoriety type thing along with a territorial thing.
Yep.
I mean, you had guys that would wrestle the Southeastern circuit, and they would wrestle here for a couple of years or whatever, maybe. And if their popularity started dropping a little, or they needed, something, there was something different needed to take place, they may gravitate to the Midwest. I mean, they're still who they are, they're still doing their deal, but they're entertaining, they're taking care of the people in a different part of the country. I mean, they're still making their paycheck, and they're kind of spreading it,
Just look at him there. You can tell straight away that's wrestler straight away there on Fuji. Of course, in his ring tights. The picture that we showed at the start of the show, of course, was manager, and we'll get more into where he became that manager role and stuff. But so, of course, we know they went from there. Next, they went to California and Texas, and in 1976, Fuji went on his own to work for Big Time Wrestling San Francisco. He won the NWA San Francisco United States title against Pat Patterson on February 7th in San Francisco, and he held the title until leaving the territory in 1977. Also in 76, he worked for World Class Championship in Texas, while champion for California. But what we're going to do, everyone, we'll be back in a minute. We're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute.
Play a commercial.
Visit gqtobaccos.com for all your cigars needs, from Cubans to New World cigars. Only available in the UK.
Only available in the UK.
Yes, and we're back, of course. Talking about Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji.
It is our UK sponsor, so,
Yeah,
That's right,
and
Mr. Fuji.
of
Mr. Fuji.
course, Fuji and Tanaka then grump after California, where of course Fuji went on his own path. They got back together and they returned to WWF in 1977 until 78. And Fuji and Tanaka, of course, when they returned, they took on Freddie Blassie as their manager. And geez, what a manager he is! And of course, we'll go
That's
more into
pretty.
Freddie. Yeah, we'll go more into him later on down the
Yeah.
line of the likes of course, managing Thunderlips, Hulk Hogan, and so forth. And of course, we'll go down there.
Did you
And
say
on set,
Thunderlips?
yeah, well, Thunderlips, of course, in Rocky, wasn't he? But he was still being
Yeah.
managed at that time when we saw, of course, Thunderlips by Freddie Blassie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Freddie turning and joining the Iron Sheik and everything. But yeah, we'll get more into that on a later show. But of course,
Speaking, when you just said Iron Sheik, that reminded me of a video I seen earlier today when I was watching.
Sheiky baby.
Yeah, Sheiky Baby. I was watching one of Taker's podcast things. They were talking about. He was talking about when him and Sheik shared a motel on the road.
Yeah, the Undertaker and Sheiky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
middle of the night out there on the balcony doing Hindu squats.
yeah.
Air-
Hindu squats, and he was too
Freezing
warm.
cold in the room.
Yeah.
Hey,
Of course, Sheiky. But yeah, so of course, when they got back, of course, on September 27th, 1977, they defeated Larry Sabrisco and long-term rival, of course, Tony Garcia. And in the finals of the tag team tournament to win their third WWF World Tag Team Championships. They wrestled in many 6-man and 8-man tag team matches during their third reign. And then they lost the belts to Dino Bravo and Dominic Dunicki on March 14th, 1978 episode of Championship Wrestling, shortly after they left WWF again. So this is now the third time that they've lost titles, they've left WWF, and then they're back touring the territories again. And of course, from 78 to 81, Fuji and Tanaka continued to tour the territories in 1979, where they won titles again. Later the same year, they stopped teaming and began wrestling individually. Fuji had success, winning several single titles and many promotions, including World Wrestling Council, NWA New Zealand, and Maple Leaf Wrestling. Then we get into that second run of WWF now. So not WWF, it's now WWF in 1981 to 1996. And as we know, it going to WWF, it was now there's Vince McMahon had taken over. So Vince McMahon Jr. had taken over, and Vince McMahon Sr. was now gone. So what do you reckon there, Grump, if they were wrestling as a tag team and then we see now this Mr. Fuji's getting more success than, of course, Tanaka? What do you reckon it was there, this Fuji's getting this success, but Tanaka, he was getting more away from it and not getting so much success?
I don't know. I think maybe it, because when you look at it, even though they stopped tagging,
Yep.
they had their individual little careers there. Yeah, Fuji, had more success in his than Tanaka did. I don't think that it was like, I don't know that, Tanaka may have been losing some interest or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe things, maybe he had other things on his mind. Maybe he had other ambitions, of getting out of it while,
Yep.
you're still pretty mobile, before you have anything, bad happen. But then you look at how their paths once again. I
Yep.
mean, they got back into the whole managerial thing.
They
So
swung back together and stuff. And
you know,
of course,
it,
when they went back for when Fuji went back for his second run, of course, he returned to Worldwide Wrestling Federation, then known as the World Wrestling Federation in '81, and he formed a tag team with
yeah,
Mr. Sato, which was managed by Captain Lou Urbano.
right.
What
There's you
another,
another bird right
what
there
another
now.
one there.
Yeah,
Of
there's you
course,
another bird.
yeah, he
They
meant.
got 2 world titles. They got 2 tag team titles out of that.
Well, you think
Fuji
with
and Sato did.
you think of Lou Urbano. Lou Urbano, of course, Welsh Samoans.
Yeah,
You just look
yeah,
at some of the teams he managed, and but I know you were saying there, of course, Mr. Fuji and Mr. Sato, and of course they began a feud then with tag team champions Rick Martel and of course Tony Garnier, where they defended, of course, on October 17th, 1981's episode of Championship Wrestling to win their first tag team championship. It was Fuji's 4th individual reign. They began the feud with the Strong Bows, which was Chief J and Jules, in the fall of '81. That, of course, another match in March 28th at Madison Square Garden, the MSG, where the Strongbows won the championship. And on July 13th episode of Championship Wrestling, they defeated the Strongbows in a 2 out of 3 falls for Fuji's 5th and Sato's 2nd WWF Tag Team Championship. The feud of these 2 teams ended after Fuji and Sato lost the titles to the Strongbows on October 30th episode of Championship Wrestling. And you know something, Grump? I didn't really know much about Mr. Sato, and
no,
I never saw any of them matches. I've seen the ones, of course, with Tanaka and Fuji,
yeah,
but really, them ones with Mr. Sato were never really where you could go and
yeah,
pull them up on YouTube or pull them up on the archives of wrestling. I've never really seen them
yeah,
kind of matches, but yet again, we see Fuji, of course, coming into that. Then, as we get into, of course, '82, Fuji was mainly used in single competitions and teamed on and off with Tiger Chung Lee. But they
yeah,
had little success in the ring. In a brief angle, Fuji turned on Chung Lee in a match at the Philadelphia Spectrum against the Wild Samoans, of course, Afa and Sika, in 1984, in a grudge match to settle the feud. Fuji defeated Chung Lee, and afterwards, Fuji continued to wrestle on his own in the ring until retirement, and Chung Lee stayed with the WWF until '88 in the lower mid cards to Premier Wrestling. So, of course, Chung Lee stepped down, and Fuji was getting to that point of, well, I can't wrestle, so what's the next part of my
yeah,
career now? And this is, of course, where we get into he becomes a manager. Mr. Fuji, the manager. And this then gets into the point of where I know Mr. Fuji and have seen Mr. Fuji with the black bowler hat, the black suit, the walking cane,
yeah,
nice little pointy beard that he's always stroking as he's outside going, You never know what he's up to. That
yeah,
the devious one, as we know. So, of course, Fuji retired from in-ring in 1985 and became a heel manager and wrestled occasionally. As a manager, Fuji often blinded his opponents, of course, by throwing the salt in the eyes.
yeah,
Or his wrestler hit the opponent with his ever-present cane. He wore a black tuxedo, bowler hat, akin to the James Bond series character Oddjob, and carried a little bag of salt. His first client was George the Animal Steele. Fucking
yeah,
hell. What a frigging oddball there, George the Animal Steele. Biting the pads.
yeah. Turnbuckle tastes good.
And his green tongue.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. He was one big, airy, frigging ape in the ring, he was. One
he
big,
was,
frigging,
man.
airy grape. But you know something? He had some tremendous feuds. When you think of it, he had one, of course, with Rocky Maivia, of course, The Rock's grandfather. Then, of course, he also had a feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, George Steele did.
Yeah.
So, you look at it, he wrestled some. So, of course, as we know, he had George Steele.
Yeah.
Fuji teamed him to lose to Hulk Hogan in Mean Gene Okerlund when Salt, his first, oh, hang on. Yeah, Mean Gene Okerlund and pinned Fuji, sorry. Steele soon became a face and left Fuji. Fuji's next client was Don Morocco, and they formed a popular heel duo and appeared on a number of TV shows, included Fuji Vice, which was set up as Miami Vice. Fuji and Morocco then began a feud with
Yeah.
Ricky Steamboat, and what a cracking wrestler Steamboat was, resulting in Steamboat defeating Fuji in several matches during their feud. Fuji briefly managed Jim Neinhard, and of course, as we know with Jim Neinhard, he
And
then went on to team, of course, with his brother-in-law, Bret the Hitman Hart, and of course, the Hart Foundation. So as we know from there, of course, Jim Neinhard, whose contract he later sold to Jimmy Hart in 1987, and Jimmy Hart, another great manager there that we'll be, of course, bringing up. He then brought the contracts of Demolition, Axe, and Smash from Johnny V. Demolition started calling him Master Fuji. Earlier, he brought Killer Khan and Sika back to the WWF. He acquired Kamala, another fucking oddball, Kamala, the Wizard from the Wizard, managing him in a single or tag match with Sika, while also leading Cowboy Bob Orton, who often teamed with Morocco. So just there alone, that list of names and legends: Sika, Don Morocco, Cowboy Bob Orton, Jim Neinhard, Axe and Smash, which still haven't gone into the Hall of Fame yet, and hopefully,
yeah.
you never know, this year they might be finally put in.
Possible.
Grump, you know something? I look at Axe and Smash, right? They were the first version that I ever saw, and then out of the wilderness came LOD, the Legion of Doom, Orc and Animal.
Yeah.
And it was like I was looking at a mirror opposite. Axe and Smash were more of the campy, leather, gay type. You look at LOD, it was the punk rockers that didn't give two flying hoots. We're coming in and we're going to take everything. Straight balls to the wall kind of wrestlers, as they were.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, now you can better understand
Yep.
why when you and Matthew get to talking and discussing about what's going on with all of it today,
Yeah.
how I just kind of like let you guys have that conversation, because see, those were the things that I came up with, and to me, there's nothing out there, there's nothing out there going on. I'm not even impressed, with the geriatric nursing home superstars from my days that are still out there trying to,
I can hear about Ric Flair. I can hear about Ric Flair.
Have their
Ric Flair.
testosterone. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, he
buddy.
wants another match. He wants another match.
At 84 was it? They said.
Yeah, 84, and he wants a match against Gunther.
See, that's what. See that right there. That right there is just saying, somebody body slammed me, so I can just go right there in the middle of the ring. I mean, what else?
His daughter said, "Hell no." And can you imagine trying to get him a wrestling license now?
Yes, I mean, stop and think about it.
And I know they say once you leave wrestling, you never really left. And that rings true when you look at Flair, you look at Shawn Michaels, you look at, of course, at The Undertaker. You look, of course, John Cena's now retired. Are we ever going to see John Cena come back? You don't know. AJ Styles retired. I'm sure he's going to come back some form or way. Goldberg. Yeah, well, Goldberg, yeah, he was okay as a wrestler. But he was never, to me, he was never main event material in WWE.
He had no, there wasn't much finesse there. It was
He was,
like
he was a
bulldozer all the
WCW
way.
guy. Yeah, he come in, jackknife you, get a pin. That's the
Yeah.
kind of slow
You know.
approach. There was no storytelling like some of the others.
It don't take much there.
Yeah. But of course, Fuji
you know.
managed Demolition to tag team championships at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And at Survivor Series 88, he turned on Demolition and began managing Demolition's rival tag team, the Powers of Pain, of course, the Warlord and Barbarian. Interviewed after the contest, Fuji claimed that he turned on Demolition because since winning championships, they had become insubordinate and disrespectful to him, where the Powers would be utterly obedient and loyal apprentices. For their part, Demolition denounced the former manager as a parasite, labeling him Fuji the Stooge. And at WrestleMania V, Fuji teamed with Powers of Pain in a 3-on-2 handicap match against Demolition for the Tag Team Championships. Fuji and Powers were defeated after Axe pinned Fuji following a Demolition decapitation. And Fuji sold the individual contracts of Power and Pain to managers Slick and Bobby the Brain Heenan, which of course we'll get more into them. And brought
another one.
Yeah, the Orient Express, which of course was Pat Tanaka and Ako Sato to the WWF. Orient Express got involved in a feud with the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, who the Orient Express defeated by a countout, thanks to Sato throwing salt in Jannetty's eyes. At WrestleMania VI, Orient Express got involved in Demolition's feud with the Legion of Doom, Hawk, and Animal. Fuji then reunited with Demolition, who by this time had a third member, Crush. So Crush, when Crush came in, Crush, I thought, gave Demolition a little bit of something different. He was a big guy. Of course, best friends with The Undertaker, and sadly, he's not here no more. Of course, he died, Brian did. And sad story that was. And you know something, I think even in his singles run, they put that much of a rocket up his backside grump.
Yeah.
Being this Crush character and then against the likes of Macho Man and so forth. And then when he went into WCW, he was lost. Then he come back, he got lost even more down that decline. And doesn't matter how much your best mate can go into the office and say, come on, give him another chance. Come on, give him another chance.
Yeah.
He's not great. He's not great. And I think, if anything, he was great in that tag kind of team, third member of a tag team. At that point, Demolition was phased out, while the Orient Express took on Legion of Doom matches. Fuji then managed the Berserker, another oddball character, the Berserker. And in 1991 until 1993, his last match in WWF was teaming with Kamala, as they lost to The Undertaker in a handicap match on July 26, 1992, at a house show. So if we just look there, managing some of them, there are some really big characters.
Yeah.
He's managing the likes of Kamala, and Kamala, where he started to where he was. Great wrestler. Great wrestler. You've even got to look at Kamala then leaving WWF, going into WCW. He was still having these big matches with Hulk Hogan and so forth. And this is the thing. The Berserker, considering where he was, as he's one of these mid-carders, having matches with The Undertaker. And then to where The Undertaker came, of course, being a legend, Hall of Famer, now, of course, being involved with Triple A and writing their matches and stuff. These are wrestlers that they were putting really out there and looked like they were getting Fuji to where he wanted to be. So after that grump, of course, in 1995, Yokozuna entered the picture. And of course, at Survivor Series and WrestleMania XI, Fuji was brought back as his manager alongside Jimmy Cornette. And Yoko began teaming with Owen Hart, in which they won the WWF Tag Team Championships. Around this time, Fuji was slowly being phased out into the background. In reality, his legs were starting to bother him, and he wasn't able to get in the ring. And by early 1996, after Yokozuna turned babyface, Fuji only made 2 more appearances as a babyface manager, carrying the American flag, and Fuji was not the best of health and was released in WWF in May 1996. But if we go into that with Yokozuna, he brought Yokozuna to Championship Gold.
Right.
The feuds that Yokozuna was having, of course, with The Undertaker. But behind the scenes, Fuji was also a member of BSK, the Bone Street Crew. And the Bone Street Crew was, of course, Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji, Undertaker, The Godfather, Rikishi, and so forth. Big member group. And they played Bones. Well, Fuji was known for being the practical joker. And Fuji put all these little pranks in. They used to call him Uncle Fuji. Uncle Fuji doing this, Uncle Fuji doing that. And he was quite a practical joker behind the scenes. But you've also got to look at the great feud with Yokozuna and The Undertaker. And it was about buried alive. Of course, putting him in a casket match. Chuck Norris was there to be the officiator of it.
Yeah.
Of course, it was just great. But you were seeing Fuji different then because Fuji had shaved his head. He got the proper Japanese robes on, carrying the salt bucket, carrying the Japanese flag. And yeah, it was great at that time. So then, of course, as we get into his retirement, after leaving wrestling, Fujiwara, of course, returned to the city of Knoxville, Tennessee in 1997. It successfully sued the makers of the video game WCW versus NWO World Tour, claiming that the character Master Fuji was based on him, which of course it was a blatant rip-off. I remember when the game came out. Fujiwara operated a training dojo out of Jefferson City, Tennessee, and Dandridge, Tennessee, is it, Grump? Dandridge, sorry.
Dandridge. All that's right there. All that's right there with Morristown.
Yep, until 2001.
Yeah.
And he was a part-time usher at Knoxville Centuries or former East Town Mall movie theater.
Yeah.
And then he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on March 31st, 2007. His former charge and Fuji Vice co-star, Don Morocco. Fujiwara was in a wheelchair at the time of the induction due to 9 knee operations. Holy shit. 9 knee operations. And then, of course, we sadly get into where he passed away, and it's sad. It's sad to see it, and at 82, really, it's no age. And Fuji died, of course, of natural causes at the age of 82 on August 28th, 2016, in Clarksville, Tennessee. He was survived by 7 children. Tyron Wong, and then, of course, the rest of his kids. He's got Tony Fujiwara, of course, Kali Fujiwara, Kevin Fujiwara, and so forth, as well as 13 grandchildren and 12 great grandchildren. So you got
Yeah.
7 children he left, of course, 13 grandchildren, 12 great grandchildren. A post mortem brain scan revealed Fujiwara is diagnosed with chronic traumatic disease of the brain, which of course is known as too many hits to the fucking head, which is the biggest one with how it is, which became an issue in professional wrestling in a post-mortem examination of Chris Benoit's brain after his death. In wake of the billion-dollar settlement between the NFL and former players over CTE issues, daughter Kali Fujiwara Salona represented the estate in a class action lawsuit against WWE, in which it claimed the promotion did not protect its employees from head trauma. His daughter, with a group, was represented by attorney Konstantina Krakos in the
Yeah.
case, and in September 2028, U.S. District Judge Vanessa Lynn Barrett dismissed the lawsuit. So Fuji's family never got nothing back, of course, with what happened. But if you go into championships, of course, AWA Southern Tag Team Championship, he had it once. Then, of course, the NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship once. NWA Canada Heavyweight Championship once. Then you look at Mid-Atlantic Tag Team once. Then, of course, he was inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2013. He also had the NWA Hawaii Tag Team Championships twice. NWA New Zealand, of course, he had the NWA British Commonwealth once. NWA South Pacific, NWA United States Heavyweight Championship once. Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Championship once. Then Tag Team Championships 4 times. Then he was, of course, in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, ranked at number 445 out of 500 best single wrestlers. And then South Championship Wrestling, he had that Tag Team Championship once. IWA Tag Team Championship once. Then, of course, we know he's a five-time Tag Team Champion in WWF. Of course, Hall of Fame in 2007. World Wrestling Council, he was, of course, the American Heavyweight Champion once and American Tag Team Champion once. And then, of course, he was in a lot of different illustrates. Worst of interviews and then worst of managers. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's very fair saying worst of managers, because that guy was... He's just something else. He was something else when you look at him. If that was a manager and you knew what you were going to get with Mr. Fuji. He wasn't one of these where he was going to lie down the ring. He's going to give it. He's going to get involved. And that's how Fuji was. And he left a great legacy around. And to be honest with you, I look at wrestling now and I look at these managers, Grump, and I think, you ain't no manager. You're just a bit of either eye candy on the man's arm, and you're not really doing it. When you look at managers, and I think this is where we're going to get more into this if people like this one. We're going to talk about more managers. We're going to get into Sherry Martel. We're going to get into Miss Elizabeth. We're going to get into, of course, Jimmy Hart, Bobby the Brainy, and Captain Lou Albano, Slick, and so forth, Paul Bearer, and carry on. Because there's so many.
Yeah. We talk managers for days.
They were managers. They would go and book airplanes. They would, of course, sort out that talent's flights, the hotel. They'd be with the talent non-stop, going over storylines. Mr. Fuji put himself out that much.
Yeah.
That behind the curtain, when he was with Yokozuna, he would tie Yokozuna's hair and plait it for him behind the scenes. That's Mr. Fuji. Nice guy. He'd sit in the car. He was friends with Paul Bearer. He was friends with The Undertaker and so forth. And they were proper managers. Not only was he a great wrestler, he also put that entertainment there when he shook insult in the eyes. He's doing the devious moves.
Yeah.
He's outside the ring and he's got that cheesy grin and holding his cane and going, hey, look what I'm going to do. He smack you over the head with this cane.
Yeah.
And that was Mr. Fuji.
But then when he wasn't out there in front of the camera doing that, he was back in the dressing room chaining the other guys' luggage and stuff up to the radiator pipes and all while they were out there in the ring. He was back there. He was back there chaining their luggage and stuff up to the ceilings and stuff.
Grump,
So he was entertainment on and off.
They said the worst people in the locker room around that time was Fuji, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog,
Yeah.
Dynamite Kid, and also Kurt Hennig around that time. Because the boys were known for play practical jokes. But the Bulldogs got Matilda that full of food. They got Matilda the Bulldog to shit in one of the wrestlers' bags. As the wrestler went to the bag the day after to go and get changed, he was left with a nice big dog shit in there from Matilda. And that was the thing. It was the ribbing, but you could also class it as it was bullying in the workplace, really. If they wanted to class it.
That or the fact of the matter is you had to do things to break up the monotony and the boredom and the aggravation of travel and all kind of different stuff like that. So I mean
full-time working pattern, wasn't it? To be
it always has been.
Yeah.
You know.
You'd have one day, they'd have probably 2 days off, maybe a week off now and again.
Yeah.
But they were constantly working. It's not like how it is now where you see them on these luxurious boats enjoying themselves. They're going on holiday. They've got their own travel bus. They've got their own airplane.
Yeah.
These were guys that were getting in a car, 4 of them, splitting the petrol money between them, giving in some of the harshest frigging winter storms, and have to walk to the hotel because the cars broke down, or they knew they got a 12-hour trip in a car to get to this state for in the morning to do televised TV, but also the same day they got to be in this other state to do televised TV there. It was constantly on the tap, nonstop.
Yeah, and they're doing all of that the majority of the time. If it wasn't a TV appointment that they were trying to get to, you know, it wasn't always a big Coliseum event. A lot of those times we're going through all that to go to a high school gym or a National Guard armory somewhere. You know, it wasn't the big sellout Coliseums that you see on TV. It was little podunk places, and that's how they kept their promotion out there. That's how they kept it rolling.
Yep.
And, you know, these guys today, with these $1 million contracts and I won't do this and I won't do that, they wouldn't have lasted 15 minutes coming up through any of that.
I think
that's just my opinion.
I think the Undertaker picked up on it, Grump.
Yeah.
And he said in one of his podcasts, the wrestling these days is more soft than what it used to be.
Yeah.
And the thing is, don't get me wrong, they were wrestling non-stop, traveling to England, Japan, all around the world, also doing the whole of the United States and Canada and everywhere. But you look at the likes, of course, it's some of the wrestlers. What went on? Don Morocco, great champion. Then you look at Dino Bravo getting in with the mafia and being killed. You look at Bruiser Brody getting stabbed in the shower in Puerto Rico. You look at some of these wrestlers and you think, fucking hell, guns being pulled out on him. Haku having a gun pulled out on him. You look at Jake the Snake, some of his stories where he was wrestling and someone was taking a shot at him, the snake getting loose and different things, and that was proper wrestling. But also, they made
Well,
time for the audience. But there was also that physique of them. They lived that character out. Fuji, if he was known as a bad guy, Fuji would be with the bad guys. The good guys would be with the good guys. Now you have these storylines where the bad guys and good guys, and they're in a fucking car together, or they're playing football, playing golf together. You're like,
yeah,
seriously, come on. You can still keep some of that, but the biggest thing is we know in this modern day and era, that fucking thing ruined it. The
yeah,
internet ruined it
yeah.
because
We
everyone
only,
spends a life on it now. So we see
yeah,
it. The curtain's being pulled, as we would say in wrestling. The curtain's being pulled, and
it
we see
has,
what's behind the curtain.
and that's just like Undertaker, Kane, Austin.
Yeah.
Those guys were kind of an end of an era type
Yeah.
deal for me because, like I said,
Yeah.
there was none of this new stuff coming along that held my attention like those. Even though
Right.
but they make it look good. They
I
knew
think
what they were doing.
I think after that era, Grump, right, of the Attitude Era, where you were seeing Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, Mankind, and so forth,
Yeah.
to then we were getting into the aggression era of John Cena, Kurt Angle, Mark Henry was becoming bigger, Undertaker slowing down more than we saw. Of course, the demise of WCW and some of them wrestlers come over like Booker T, DDP, Rey Mysterio, and so forth. To me, watching wrestling later on after that Attitude Era, I enjoyed the product because you were still seeing Undertaker. You're seeing Ric Flair now and again. Stone Cold, you're seeing pop up until he retired.
Right.
But they were making new superstars. Now it's a case of you're not seeing many generated new superstars. They still got some of the old timers like Rey Mysterio, like Brock Lesnar wrestling. But then you're seeing also there's these wrestlers that started out like AJ Styles, Goldberg, John Cena, and so forth. They're now retiring. And it makes me wonder where we get in 5 years' time. Because you look at most of their portfolio now of wrestlers, they're in the 40s, some are coming up into the 50s. Shinsuke Nakamura, he's coming up to retirement soon. LA Knight is well in his 40s. He's got to be coming to retirement. Cody Rhodes, he's the same age as me. He's 40. He's
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, of course, as well. So then you look at that.
And
Roman Reigns will be another one.
Yeah, Roman Reigns.
Yeah. It's crazy. And then
CM Punk.
Yeah, everything they're on about doing, and of course, Saudi Arabia bite, and what a fucking shitstorm that Royal Rumble was. I tell you now, as we spoke about, you, me, and Matthew, when we did the cigar loons on Tuesday, what a crock that was. I just don't know, and sometimes I wonder, should they put a wrestler in charge to write the storylines, like putting Triple H in front? Is the content officer? Was that a right move? Was that a wrong move? Is it now they don't know the product like Vince McMahon knew the product and how to get the product out there? Is it too soft of a product?
I think as far as the content stuff goes, it needs to be somebody that knows the business, But now I feel like you would have to keep an eye on that because there could be a lot of favoritism played in there.
Oh, yeah.
There could be, the way the matches are booked or the way the storyline goes for this, that, or the other. And that could all be determined on what kind of relationship and loyalty and all kind of things do you have to this content manager here, and is he going to be one of those that, is he going to pitch tantrums if it don't go his way? Or, I mean, you got to think about all that stuff. How much power are you going to give the guy that's writing the matches? Because, I mean,
Yep.
if he knows what he's doing,
Oh yeah.
you're going to go places. If he wants to play games and have tantrums and do things his way and what he likes to do, then you're probably going to sink like a rock.
I think as well though, Grump, if we look at it, the whole thing beforehand was if you walked out to say WWF, you could go and work in the territories. You'd have that backup.
Right.
There isn't many indie wrestling shows around now because they're being brought up. Yes, okay, there's TNA, but TNA's involved with WWE. AEW isn't one of the biggest main players like WCW was. WCW had that amount of money by Ted Turner that he could compete with WWF around that time.
Right.
So
Right.
really now when you look at it, the main product out there is WWE with Raw, SmackDown, Nexus. Now they've brought, of course, AWA, which is, of course, Lucha Libre Wrestling, that they've now brought. They're also in with the whole TKO group, which, of course, has got UFC. It's a big, massive thing that we're looking at there, and it's crazy.
Well, see, and then when you start looking, at all the connections here, there, and everywhere else, and like you said, the WWE thing is the biggest. It's the biggest show going right now, and they keep building off of it. They keep scaling it up,
Yep.
and it keeps expanding. So, at what point does it become a WWE monopoly?
Yeah.
As to where it ain't gonna matter where you start anything at in the country, you're either gonna end up affiliated with WWE, or you're gonna choke and go out of business.
That's the thing.
When is it gonna come to that point?
And as you were talking about favourites, Grump, because I know Matthew's not listening, you've always been my favourite, Grump.
Yeah.
You wait until Matthew sees this. Matthew will be on Tuesday. Who the fuck you say is your favourite? Much love, Matthew. I know you'll be watching, my brother. Much love to Matthew.
Yeah, we miss you, man. We was hoping you'd be here tonight.
Yeah. He did text me and said there's, of course, if stuff came up and the wife had found him something to do, then he wouldn't be here. And I said, damn, don't worry about it.
That's okay, buddy.
Family come first.
That's right. You know how it is. We ain't mad.
Yeah, but we'll catch up with him on Tuesday. And, of course, we're live on Tuesday with the Cigar Loons podcast. It's 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock in England. And we are going to be sitting with a guest this coming Tuesday from Stallone Cigars. So not Stallone, Stallone. That's what Matthew says. And Stallone means stallion. So, of course, if you've seen them cigars and it's got that horse on it, that's who we've got coming. And we can't wait to be talking to Tony, the owner and blender of the cigars. So you'll be able to catch that on the show. And there's the plaque, Stallone from Nicaragua. It's going to be an interesting show. And we've got plenty more coming. And also, keep your eyes open on the Cigar Loons YouTube channel, because there is going to be more Smoke Beyond the Mat coming. And like we said, we're going to go down this line now of managers, and we'll get our next one out sometime next week for you. So we hope you've enjoyed. Please like and subscribe to the channel, please, because we do appreciate it. And like we said, if you haven't caught Grumpy there on rumble.com, then go and look up Grumpy Coffee Talk Show on rumble.com, and you can catch Grumpy's Coffee Talk Show on Mondays with the news, the latest news headlines, and also catch on his Wednesday show and also his premiere show on a Friday, and be able to catch all that. And over 23 videos so far, Grump. We're starting in 2 months.
I think 22 or 23 was the last one. We're right in there, yeah.
Yep. So
doing
go
good,
please
though.
like,
I'm happy.
Oh, yeah. So please go and like and subscribe to the channel. And thank you again to our sponsor, Honeybee Cigars. So a big shout out to Bree from Honeybee Cigars. And as you all know, we've got something big coming with Bree, Mystic Honey. So keep your eyes open for that one. And also Grumpy likes spilling the tea, but his favourite coffee is Honeybee Cigars coffee. And of course, that's what's been promoting the show tonight. So big shout out to Bree. But from me, as I always say on every show, stay smoky. Grumpy, finish this one off, my brother. Finish it off. Back down the hatches.
Yeah, man. I always finish them the same. That way I don't get lost. I love you. Our Father loves you too. But if he ain't driving your bus in 2026, please pull over and exchange seats with him, because you might be fixing to crash. You just don't know it yet.
Amen.
Until you see me Monday morning. It's so Grump. Love you.
We'll catch you soon. Stay safe, everyone, and enjoy.
Let's get ready to roll. Smoke fills the air, the wrestlers roar. It's smoke beyond the mat, where legends go to war. From the ring to the mic, let the stories unfold, of triumphs and tears, tales yet untold. Smoke beyond the mat, where legends are born, where the passion burns bright and the spirit is torn. From the heart of the ring to the soul of the show, smoke beyond the mat, where the wrestlers go. Take the stage with wit and charm. They guide us through the chaos, keeping us warm. From old school icons to rising stars, they share their journeys, leaving lasting scars. Smoke beyond the mat, where legends are born, where the passion burns bright and the spirit is torn. From the heart